Okay? Now, you shouldn't bicker with your own flesh and blood. We're going to do a bit of familial relationships now. And to bicker with somebody, this means to have silly, pointless arguments with somebody. We usually use it for children. Children bicker with each other because they have silly, pointless arguments about nothing. My children bicker a lot. But you shouldn't bicker with your own flesh and blood. That means, and it's a binomial again, flesh and blood. Another binomial is kith and kin, and it means flesh and blood, kith and kin. It's exactly the same. It means your family. Your own flesh and blood is your own kith and kin. It's your family. Okay, but two good binomials to memorize there, two-part expressions. And, you know, of course, you shouldn't bicker with your own flesh and blood. Why? Because blood is thicker than water. That's an idiom that means your familial relationships, the relationships you have with your relatives, are more important than those you have perhaps with your friends. I'm not sure I would necessarily agree that blood is thicker than water always, because I think sometimes you meet a friend who seems closer to you or perhaps more reliable, more trustworthy to you than people in your family, than your own flesh and blood, your own kith and kin. So I'm not sure I'd agree with that, but it's a very old idiom. Probably goes back to the Bible or something like that. It's very old, so it's worth knowing. Now, here are two phrasal verbs, to turn on somebody and to turn somebody on. And they're very different, very, very different. If you turn on somebody, that sounds like you attack them suddenly, unexpectedly, out of the blue is another way of saying unexpectedly. So it's usually someone who is a friend who turns on you, suddenly attacks you, and you don't expect it because they're supposed to be a friend. You might even have a loyal dog who has always been loyal, but then suddenly it turns on you and attacks you. It bites the hand that feeds it. We say that sometimes as well. So to turn on somebody is to attack somebody out of the blue. But to turn somebody on is to sexually excite somebody. And you can actually use this as a noun as well and say something like, you know, a lot of people have some weird sexual fetish out there, and you might say he finds shoes a turn on. Yeah, it's not true for me. I find shoes comfortable when I go outside, and that's all. But some people, for some strange reason, have this fetish with shoes, and you would say they find shoes a turn on. Okay, and you can even use it, you can even say a turn off, and you can turn somebody off, which means disgust somebody, repel somebody, totally unexcite somebody sexually. And so when you might say perhaps a woman finds moustaches a turn off, she doesn't like moustaches, she finds beards a turn off, maybe, you know, I don't know what women find a turn on and a turn off, but if something is a turn off for you, it disgusts you, it repels you. Yeah, and so lots of things might be a turn off for you. What do I find a turn off? Can't think of anything off the top of my head. But yeah, to turn somebody on, to sexually excite them, to turn somebody off, disgust them, repel them. Okay, so please remember the difference between those two phrasal verbs because they're very, very different. Now, if you take somebody for granted, and we all do this sometimes, especially with people who are our own flesh and blood or kith and kin, or with very close friends, loyal friends, that means that you underappreciate that person. You don't value them enough. Why? Because you've got used to them. You've got used to, you know, kids get used to their mum always doing things for them, perhaps always cooking for them or helping them in various ways. And so they start to take their mum for granted. And they start to perhaps underappreciate all of the work that she does, something like that. I suppose we all do it sometimes with our mothers as well sometimes. So it's important that you don't take your own flesh and blood for granted.